Hey, everybody, welcome into Roosters on Olentangy River Road in beautiful Columbus, Ohio. This is Lettermen Live. I am Austin Ward. That's my colleague, Spencer Holbrook. That's our quarterback, Justin Zwick. And the guy right here, you know him, Mike Doss, the former Ohio State star in the secondary. Back on our normal Monday schedule after a crazy holiday season. Happy New Year to you guys.
You too. Happy New Year, for sure.
And I hope that the recovery process from the Fiesta Bowl is going well for you. We talked about it last week. This is the kind of one that sticks with guys that, forever. You didn't even play in it, and I'm sure it's been tough for you guys to get over.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, frustrating just to see how things played out for us. I haven't been able to talk about it a couple of weeks, but definitely just has left a bitter taste in my mouth. Just to kind of go through that, replay that whole process, and you hear all the hype leading up to this Monday coming up next week, and you realize how close we were, to be right there in the thick of things. A lot of plays left on the field, a lot of plays got turned over or didn't go our way. And the biggest thing that we discussed when we did the promo on Shaun Wade, which would be a high point because we know he's returning, was the fact that he would be the key in the game. And to lose him the way that we did at the time, the timing of that, I think that changed the momentum. That hurt the flow. Obviously, our continuity as a defense had changed a little bit. And ultimately, I think that started the snowball effect of us kind of, going the way that we did.
Yeah, we had Beanie and Schlegs in here last week to talk about it, but I got a feeling that this game, Justin, everybody's gonna have to get their 2 cents on this because it's the officiating, it's the targeting, it's the drops, it's the final play, it's everything.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things for me, anyways. Was like you had a ton of football to watch after that game, and you keep seeing certain plays in certain games. It's like, what in the what? How did they call that in our game?
Right.
What is where?
I agree.
How are we supposed to teach these kids how to tackle? How are we supposed to? What's a catch? And it's just you see it. It's just like officiating has had just a rough go at it, and it just brings it back to every time you see something. It's like, oh well, he didn't get kicked out. That's 15 yards. They kicked our guy out for making a tackle. For goodness sake, it's just like every little thing. It's just like it just keeps coming up and coming up.
I've been doing the same thing. Every time I see a hit now in a college game and they show the replay, it's like you kind of judge it not based on whether it's targeting or not, but whether it was worse or better than what Shaun Wade did.
Yep.
And it's just kind of interesting. I know Shaun Wade doesn't want that, but he's going to end up end up being the Shaun Wade rule. I think if they change this and it goes like a yellow card system like it should, then people are going to dub it the Shaun Wade rule. I think that's good for the game, but I just continue to, like you said, just keep going back to Shaun Wade's hit and be like, is this the same thing? Is it worse? What are we doing?
I mean, I can't Doss, when you look at the targeting rule and the way that
Doss would have been kicked out of every game back in the day.
How many ejections?
Oh my gosh,
he brought the wood,
right?
Listen, I would have probably sued the NCAA because I would have lost so much value as a
sitting out all those games.
Yeah, exactly. Sitting out first half, second half, because the way I would hit people, and I think it's going to get to that point. At some point, some player is going to come through and set a precedent and sue the NCAA and say, "Hey, I'm losing money over this. I'm losing opportunities to be a professional." And then you guys, the way that this rule is structured, you have to come with some more clarity. And I think that's the part that makes a difference. Well, it needs clarity in this rule because we watched that Michigan State blitz. It's the same blitz. We highlighted it in the breakdown. It's the same blitz. The same play, quarterback sees him coming,
and quarterback is down.
And you got a 6'6" quarterback with a smaller guy coming and full sprint.
It's almost like it's not maybe not from Doss to you, but if it's me trying to hit you and you're bracing for impact, you wouldn't need to if it was me hitting you. But
you're always bracing for impact.
That's helmet. The helmet to helmet was almost initiated by Trevor Lawrence in this case, and then you just looked at all the other ejections and the intent.
It's like the refs never played football and they don't understand. Hey, when you're out there. That's how fast things happen. You can't throw a kid out because he was going to make – he wrapped and then, he continued the tackle. It wasn't a launch. It wasn't – he's a smaller guy going to tackle a bigger guy. And, and what about Chase Young? Hands to the face, getting held on the end of that play. Nobody says anything about that.
The game before that, Oklahoma LSU. The kid from Oklahoma
launched his body.
If you're trying to tell me that the same penalty should be called on what he did and what Shaun Wade did on that blitz – I got bad news for you. That's just like, how in the world can you even look at those two plays and think they deserve the same penalty? They just don't.
Yeah. No. Anybody who's ever watched Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters, knows that I think it's time for that yellow card, red card. If you're going to have a targeting, they can't all be the same. If they're going to try to measure intent, that's the only way you can tell a difference. Because what Shaun Wade did, as you said, Spencer, was not the same as what happened in the Oklahoma game or some of these others we've seen where you're taking shots and leaving your feet.
Like you said, it's always going to have to go to an NBA flagrant run, flagrant two. We got to review the tape, see, was it above the neck? Was it intent? Was it just, deliberately trying to yank a guy down? Yeah. So you're going to have to get to that kind of standpoint where the ruling has to be very clarified. And I think it will be some precedent of a player, maybe a redshirt sophomore or something, and he may be top defensive player.
If that's his last game, and he's trying to go out and play 2 more games in the playoffs, and he gets kicked out. So that means he's out for the second half and the first half of the next game if they were to win. That could hurt a guy. Who's
that could have been the second half. Shaun Wade could be potentially missing the national championship.
Exactly, that could have been.
And it could, be a senior year. I mean, this could be next year, be a senior year. And how do we, how do we rank that? Can he get value of playing against the best talent and be able to, make his draft stock be as high as it could be?
Well, like you said, Mike, that could have been the last game of Shaun Wade's career. That would have been the final memory. The disappointment of sitting in that locker room for the entire second half out there at State Farm Stadium. That's just a miserable way, especially because you saw it immediately change the game in Clemson's favor. But it will not be the last game of Shaun Wade's career. Yes. Spencer and I went down to Florida over the weekend to meet with the Wade family and give him a chance to announce his decision.
How was that trip, man? How was that weather?
It was nicer than Phoenix.
They didn't want to take us on the road. They didn't want to take us on the road with them.
It was a quick turnaround. We didn't have time to coordinate with Jay-Z and Doss, but next year when somebody decides to come back, we'll take the whole crew. Because if anybody's an expert on throwing these events to announce a return,
I know, Mike Doss.
Somebody said, well, you don't throw a press conference if you're going to the league or coming back.
Right.
So Mike Doss, Cardale Jones, now there's 3.
Right. My time was different. 17 years ago. It was that. Well, I know, right? It's like, geez. It's one of those deals. I really didn't know what I wanted to do up until that point. It was leaning all on my mom, and she wanted me to come back and get my college degree and be the first to get that education in our family. But emotionally, as a player, I was really torn because I knew my potential. I knew I could play at that next level. So to really go back through that, and people ask me to this day, like, would you change your mind? Clearly not if we won a national championship, right? But ultimately, when you look at my career, I could have been a year closer to free agency. I got hurt my contract year. Hindsight's 2020, these things, but ultimately, it's just different day and age. The marketing and the hype is different. I probably would have won the Thorpe Award. No one's been a 2-time Thorpe Award finalist and not win it. You know what I mean? So those kind of things, like, without the hype,
not bitter about it,
though. But I think for Shaun Wade, I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he has a clear head, a clear conscience. The thing for him now moving forward from that decision, which is important, is to know that you're all in, right? This is it. This is my last run. I'm going to lead, as he stated. He wants to be the leader of the secondary. He wants to make sure he feeds into the young players and get these guys to play up to a higher level and carry that tradition of a secondary, which they brought back here the last several years. And for sure here at 19, they really put a stamp on the country to know that when you play against the Buckeyes secondary, we're here to play.
And when you came back, how was the room? Did the guys know you were going to come back, or did you have to bring those younger guys? I know Donnie Nicky, and we had some older guys there in the secondary, but what role? You come back in, those guys looking at you saying, "Man, Mike Doss just said I'm not going to the NFL. I'm coming back into this room." I'm sure that kind of those guys look at you like, "Man, okay, I want to listen to everything this guy has to say."
And I think for our team camaraderie, what's different for me is I didn't get a real good chance to play with my class. So I was a freshman, got to play special teams, started against Michigan as a freshman. Sophomore year, got to start, and then it was kind of that year where anyone that our recruiting class got in, this is their time, right? Yep. The Tim Andersons, the Craig Crenzos, and whatnot. And I felt in our room in the secondary room, we were veterans, but I just solidified that room to say, look, I'm here, another one, let's go. We're all in. We're going to do this thing. Matt Wilhelm and those guys, we stayed so tight from watching film, eating, hanging out, to doing everything to put it all in for that one run in 02. And from, Jay-Z was there.
Yeah, I was there. I got to watch it all from a very low pressure. I got to enjoy. The weather in Arizona was much nicer when I was a freshman out there.
The sun was shining and the Buckeyes won. It's not a coincidence. It's raining in Arizona.
But just that. But I think that feel for, like, now you got 14 enrollees come in
today.
Today just started. started class. So those things were different. I mean, Claret was the one and only that we knew. You know what I mean? You would have did it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't that big of a thing back in the day.
If I would have did it coming out of high school, if I'd have knew, but now you go from that to 14 and enrolling, so now you get this camaraderie, these young freshmen coming in, starting classes, spring ball, summer workouts, where they're in the program, just like, hey, you're jumping on this train. Where ours was kind of like, hey, we're trying to set a new precedent. Trust this
new coach.
New coach just got the first win against Michigan in 17 years. So it was kind of like we're just starting this new wave, and we've been riding it ever since.
Well, I think it's fascinating with the Shaun Wade decision, and the same is true for J.K. Dobbins or Jeff Okudah, Chase Young, the guys who are leaving. A handful of other guys decided to stick around, like Baron Browning, 3 guys on the offensive line. He was really seriously considering it because he's
fair.
married.
He's good. I mean,
but that's another piece that you add. Like, there's so much that goes into this. I think people have this expectation that you're just putting in for the feedback from the advisory committee, whatever it says. I'm ready to make money. Let's do it. But for Shaun Wade or these other guys, it's like, well, do I get to play outside cornerback? Who's going to be the position coach? Can I get the insurance policy? Protect loss of value.
Absolutely. I mean, it was different. The loss of value was new, right? That's probably maybe the last 5-10 years. When I bought my insurance, it was just for 1 year.
Yep.
This is it. You're buying a premium for 1 year of insurance. If you get injured, hey, this is what you can, buy. You want $1 million policy. It cost me $25,000 for, 12 months. So it's kind of one of those deals where the game and the evolution has changed the thought process. And as you said, it goes to family situations. Can I get my degree? How far am I away?
Does he want to come back and work on something that will maybe help him, maybe rise up to that first round pick, or top 10?
Exactly. So like a Shaun Wade, he's rated the 6th corner taken. I mean, it's kind of hard. As a defensive back who goes, the premium on defensive back play is huge right now.
And I had that conversation with his father, Randy, on Saturday. It was like, okay, if you're the number 6 corner, and you're thinking, and they used to give you these grades like, well, that could make you a first-round pick. It could make you a first-round pick. But that's if all 32 teams are
need
trying
a corner.
to draft a corner.
And I remember Ryan Pickett, my sophomore year, going into my junior year, Ryan Pickett and Nate Clemens, those guys decided to leave early. And Ryan Pickett was rated like the 8th defensive tackle, defensive lineman. And he goes first round because 9 defensive linemen got picked. He was the 10th defensive lineman picked, but it was the first round, 31st pick. So it's kind of one of those things where I was stating, if there's a premium on secondary play, the first guy goes off, Okudah goes off at number 3, then the next guy goes off at number 6, and the next guy goes at number 12. Next thing you know, it's like people are making a run on corners. You know what I mean?
The draft process has changed a lot too since back in the day. So I mean, you see all these. All right, these are what the teams are already out there. This is what teams need.
Yeah.
So like, all right, in the first round. There's probably 4 teams that want to go, cornerback. So I'll be second round maybe.
I mean, look at Tua today. Makes a decision at noon. He's going pro. The kid hasn't thrown a ball since November, and he'll probably end up being
he's coming off an injury.
First, second round pick just because of the potential and ratings of what they've so-called haven't rated. He's the number 2 quarterback coming off into the draft. So if he shows any sign of health, it'd be like a Willis McGahee kind of thing. We blew out Willis McGahee. He's the number 1 running back rated. And he ends up going 21st. He could have went 4th in the top 5, but he ends up going 21st, and it still was a first-round pick and had a lengthy career. So, hats off to Tua for making that decision for him and his family. But I think for him it probably was more business. If I can't play football anymore, at least I'll get some checks for it.
Yeah, exactly. Just try and get something before I show him that I can't play anymore.
Exactly.
The Shaun Wade thing is interesting to me because, like you say, if he's the 6th corner on the board, that doesn't mean that every single team thinks he's the 6th best corner.
That's true.
Some teams might think he's the 3rd corner. Some teams might think he's the 11th corner.
Right.
And so if they have like the 22nd pick or something, say the Dolphins, I think they have 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
If they don't like Shaun Wade, that's 3 of the first-round picks already that are not going to be spent on you. So there's 29. And now one team's going to take Jeff Okudah, so there's 28. Your odds just start getting smaller and smaller, and that's just without even like a team interviewing you and seeing if they like you.
Right. Yep. And the hardest thing is, as me and Zwick learn as being professionals in our runs or tenures and tryouts or how you want to look at it is, first round is great in the sense like you come in with a financial set of security, but even then, second round is solid. I mean, I was a 59th pick. I was second round. My signing bonus was $1 million at 21 years old. You know what I mean? It's like, okay. But really the true standpoint of its longevity, right? Once you get in, how long do you play? How do you solidify yourself? How you raise your value once you're in the league? And those are the difference makers where you see a 5th round pick play 12 years, a 3rd round pick play 13 years. I mean, it's all about chance, luck, and opportunity. But every player in the NFL, has talent. It's just a matter of do they get in the right situation.
Oh, that's football in general, in my opinion. Yeah, college. I mean, Joe Burrow.
Look at Joe Burrow. I mean,
bad situation, hurts his hand. He would have been a backup for 2 years here at Ohio State. He goes down to LSU, wins a Heisman.
Exactly,
it's crazy.
Exactly. So my point I was making on the draft is it's only 32 first-round picks. But being picked in that draft is special, right. Just being selected of those 300 guys, those 300 names. But then the longevity of it is, what do you do when you're there? Mm-hmm. How do you solidify your longevity?
How do you get that next contract?
Yep. Because the second contract is the one that takes you to a point of, hey, this is generational wealth, right? I mean, being a number 1 pick, it sets you up. How do you structure that with financial planners and things like that? But really, that second contract, when you sign, the Vikings quarterback, when you sign $85 million guaranteed. Over 3 years, right? And he gets his first playoff win yesterday.
Bet on yourself, right? That's what Shaun Wade is doing as he comes back to the Buckeyes. Going to take a quick break right here on Lettermen Row, brought to you by Roosters. We'll be right back with a lot more talk about Ohio State.
Roosters is one of the unique companies that we deal with. They're involved in everything we do, from our personal foundation to also the Cancer Research Fund. And that's from the Buckeye Cruise from Cancer to all the events leading up to the Buckeye Cruise.
They donate back to different organizations that are near and dear to their heart. And we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long, long time.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
All right, welcome back into Roosters. It's Lettermen Live. As you guys said early on, those 14 early enrollees for Ohio State, a huge number, a big deal. It's become more common. Wasn't really, as you said, an option for you guys. But when you show up in the summer for you two, what's the first day like when you get in the Woody and you're no longer a recruit?
Yeah.
You got a strength coach going to town on you? I mean, do you remember what?
I just remember. It wasn't necessarily the first workout because you were down and you were trying to be around and but it was like that first padded practice.
Yeah.
I'll never forget like Alex Stepanovich, that offensive line you guys had your senior year, they were all 330 pound, and I'm this little freshman like getting under center, like these are grown men that I'm playing with, like this is. I had a couple big guys on my offensive line, but this is everybody, like it was nuts. I mean, the workouts, everybody can work out. You get to this point, you've been in the gym, you've been doing all that stuff. So the workouts and everything, they might be up a little bit, 6 a.m.s and that sort of thing. You might not be used to right away here to start this year. But, once spring ball comes, I think that's when they realize, you get those pads on, you start seeing these guys out on the field making plays. Those young guys might think, man, or they're like, hey, I can play with these guys, or it's just one of those like you really got to be on that field to see how Mike Doss runs around, what he does, that sort of thing. So I think that will come later in the spring. Right now, it's just they're getting their feet wet. They're going to get these workouts, see what being a Buckeye is about with Mickey, in the weight room and all that. But come springtime, I think will be a better test.
Zwick, who made your welcome to college hit practice?
Oh gosh. Well, when I was playing,
that non-contact jersey.
Right? It didn't matter. I couldn't throw the ball my first camp. I got Jay Richardson hit me in a scrimmage and I dislocated my shoulder. I couldn't throw the ball.
Answer.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but those black jerseys didn't mean much with Coach Tress around. I think that's changed a little bit nowadays.
For me, I came in the summer, like as Zwick said, getting in those. I try to come a little early, run. I lived with Kenny Peterson. Mm-hmm. He was here already, and I was able to get in some sprints. I just remember summer workouts with Coach Kennedy, Eddie George, Joey Galloway, Sean Springs, Orlando Pace. We're all out there running like straight 110. So it would be the back of the end zone to the other goal line, and we have a time, and we end up running like 32 of these things, right? So we run like a set of 12, a set of 10, and then we got the last set. And I'm just like, I'm standing on like Joey Galloway's heels. I'm just like, if I can stay on this guy's heels, I'll be okay, right? I'm just holding on. And it's literally like the last 2 runs, and Coach K looks at those NFL guys, and he says, show these young guys what it's about. And he's like, hits the whistle, and these dudes take off This is like the 31st run, right? I mean, we're dead at legs. I'm freaking about to fall out. And these dudes take off like it was their first run. And I just was like, okay, now I know the level of what I just walked into to see, what I have to do to reach that potential.
Right.
And alluded, I think for these young freshmen coming in, the big thing is get in the classroom, get on that
schedule.
Go to class, get to that new schedule of life. Like in high school, it's kind of like you milking it a little bit. You got to love.
You're the big man on campus.
Campus. Now it's like, hey, we walk out. I walk in. I'm on campus. I got study time 7:30 in the morning at the Sasso. I got to go to class. I got a team lift, whatever, in the afternoon probably. Learn the new schedule of life. So when spring ball does come, now you feel like you're in a rhythm.
Yeah, it's just second nature to you. You got practice. You did school.
I'm back to practice. And then now, like he said, can I go out, contribute, show my value, why I came here. But then if I'm really elite or there's a true opportunity for a position like a young DB, like who's looking at, hey, Jordan Fuller's gone, Ornett's gone,
spots open,
Akuta's gone, and it's only like, that's only Shaun Wade who we know penciled in. I'm fighting. I'm scrapping. Like, hey, every practice I get, who's my coach? I want to show who I am.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Jay-Z brought up this point where it goes when you get the pads on, because sometimes we get to watch those first few in March and April because they're not installing, they're not putting in a game plan, and it's like, okay, well, these freshmen look like the real deal. They're not out of place, and they have 3 or 4 really good days, and then you're like, then the pads come on, and you stop hearing anything about like, oh, Paris Johnson looked the part on day 1, but day 6, maybe there was
shorts and helmets is a different ball.
It's a different game, and like I think that's an interesting perspective from a player. The difference from just going through on air and not hitting. Obviously, that's such a big part of the game, but how long that maybe takes to acclimate for a freshman or even a redshirt freshman or sophomore. Like, it doesn't always happen overnight for guys.
Yeah, I mean, you see when Urban started doing that black, the black stripe. The black stripe. It'd be maybe the next year or at the end of the season. Some kids are getting it off because that's when, that's how long it took them to kind of get used to it or, say, all right, I got to man up. I got to get this thing off my helmet. I got to man up and do something.
How I diagnose a play. What's my understanding of the system? How am I fully 100% all going in those plays? So, like, you got a lot of players, like, filling it out as they're learning. So then that slows their progression. And that slows. So what ultimately I think will help these 14 players will give them a chance. Now when they go on the training camp, they have an understanding. They know where they kind of stand. They see the depth chart a little bit, and that's like, all right, man, I'm second team, or I'm fighting for that backup role. Or I may have a chance to be a punt returner, kick returner. Now I got to come into camp with that extra edge, and that gives them guys a motivation.
Something else for these kids though. 14. I remember when you talked about Reese doing it. Reese used to call me all the time when he was down here by himself. When are you getting here? So those 14 kids having a support system
each other
behind them, or having that large of a group, they're all kind of going through the same thing. But Reese like, man, when are you getting down? I need some of my guys, like my age guys, because he's on an island there, and all those other running backs are looking at Reese saying, man, I ain't helping this guy. Got it, and that's how it goes. I mean, Krenzel and them used to like make fun of me in the quarterback room because there was what it was. Of
course,
but I mean, that's competitors. Like, hey, some hot shot freshmen's in here. All right, we'll see. And then they start going, So you need a support system. The 14 of them will be great because they can kind of bounce off each other. Like, oh, man, can you believe this workout today? Like, are we going to make it?
They can mesh.
Are we going to make it now? But, I think that's big for them to have each other.
Build that camaraderie. I think it's huge.
I think you look at it, and I've heard people say in the past, well, I mean, it is a head start, but it's only 15 practices. Well, 15 practices to
zero.
These guys.
Well, and these guys aren't used to having practice in the spring, so that's a big time.
Some of them,
at least Ohio guys.
Ohio guys. But I think that 15 practices is huge. Just for, again, you get acclimated to the coaching style, the coaching system, Mickey, how he prepares guys. And then the reality of it is, if you have a chance, as we're stating, for some young guy who wants to break out and showcase himself, he has 15 practices in the spring, and then he has all the training camp to go, I can be counted on in crunch time. And I would say, was it Garrett Wilson? I mean,
did it last year.
I mean, he showcased what he was able to do, and every time he stepped on the field,
well, and you also have those 15 practices where you say, all right, spring ball's done.
Yep.
I got this much time until camp. This is what I got to work on.
Right.
For the back in my day, I came in June, whatever camp was, the freshmen came early. That was our first practice. So it's like, I don't know what to expect with college practices. That sort of thing. These kids already having that under their belt. That 4 months or whatever it is in between spring ball and or camp, that it could be huge for those kids saying, all right, this is what I need to work on. This is what I had trouble with. Yeah. That's how you get ready to go and be a contributor as a freshman.
I can imagine 4 months in advance a reality check. However early your reality check comes, makes you better. I can just imagine. I mean, if you come in January, you go through all those practices and you realize, this is not high school anymore. Yep. And then those other guys show up in June, and it's like,
oh, you're way ahead of the game.
Man, we didn't even highlight it. I mean, getting with Mickey from January, so you really get a full 8 months until the season, and you got to imagine the high school guys. I mean, okay, Jack Sawyer's committed to Ohio State 2 years. He still has a year of high school. They gave him, here's a workout book, but it's not the full everything.
It's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. It's not being led, right? Yeah. So imagine these guys come in, the kids who stayed home, they got a little workout book and it's led by their personal trainer, their high school coach. But now you're in there with Mickey's program, and he sees you and he goes, hey, Zwick, all right, take a picture, see where you at, where do you want to be? All right, we would be by training camp. He's like, I want to get up to 2:15. I want to, be able to run 4.6. That's what I want to do. Okay, we're gonna work on that.
Put a plan in
place. Yep. So those things that you can't put a price on by coming early to where they get into the strength program and they get that ride and be like, okay, they get a feel.
Yeah, a lot of time for younger guys, that's the biggest thing. You get a big offensive lineman that you maybe want to have play the next year, having that extra 8 months in the weight room. I mean, they could put pounds on him, muscle, make them into college players.
So we'll be talking about Paris Johnson a lot. Spencer, of those 14, who you had him on your list, you wrote about it at Lettermen Row on Monday. 5 guys who could help right away. Obviously, Paris Johnson's on there. Give us an idea of who else might help right away.
Well, the 2 receivers, actually all 4 receivers that enrolled early, everybody's going to be chirping for him all throughout the year. I mean, Brian Hartline likes to have a 6 receiver rotation. You got Chris Olave, you've got Garrett Wilson, and then there's 4 freshmen who are super talented. There's other guys in the room, obviously, but those 4 freshmen are so talented. I could just name any of those, but I really look at Ryan Watts as a guy that could play early. The
cornerback.
The corners are going to need replaced, obviously. Cam Brown saw a lot of time. Seven Banks saw a lot of time. You've got guys like Amir Reap, who probably is more of a safety. Shaun Wade is going to switch to probably a corner other than a nickel. I'm not going to speak for Greg Madison, but whatever they decide to do with him, he's versatile. Ryan Watts is 6'2", 6'3", depending on who you ask, 190 pounds. If they can put some muscle on him and get him up to like 195 or 200, I think he could be an instant contributor for this team. And it's yet to be seen because you don't know how he's going to acclimate. Some guys take a year, some guys take 2 years, like we just talked about. But Ohio State has a position of need more than anything else. It's corner, and they have a cornerback coming in who's the prototype build for what an Ohio State corner should look like. I just think it makes too much sense for him not to at least get a shot at playing early.
There you go.
There it is. And then we're going to talk a lot. Jay-Z's going to probably have to come in and do some Buckeye Qs again to look at the tape on C.J. Stroud and Jack Miller. They got 2 quarterbacks coming in. Gunnar Hoke is returning. He's going to have that edge and experience to try and keep that backup job behind Justin Fields. But these 2 guys, they can both sling it. They're both physically put together. They're both, top 25 nationally quarterback prospects. And they're both here right now.
Yeah,
so that's
crazy.
That starts right now.
They just played a game, 2 days ago or something like that?
Exactly.
I mean, I saw when that Stroud kid came in, my buddy texted me, hey, Stroud's in, so I turned flip it on. He seemed like a Justin Fields type player. He first couple plays I saw, he was running the ball, doing that, and then, looked like he had a pretty good arm on him too. And the other kid I've heard a lot about, for a long time. I haven't seen any film or anything like that, but I look forward to seeing what these young guys have. And, they got a quarterback room that was pieced together,
really. For 18 months.
Hoke is here. That's great and all, but he basically – they took him on saying, we don't have anybody else. No disrespect to him by any means, but, these young guys are going to be the ones that they're going to want to push one of those guys up to be that backup.
I don't know if you were right there or Spence wrote the article. This would be Coach Day's first time in 7 years that he's had a quarterback for 2 consecutive seasons. So, this will be the big turning point in growth in Justin Fields' game over this offseason leading into next year, to that where Coach Day in that relationship gets to thrive. With the whole quarterback situation, he's going to take more of a leadership role in that room and be able to manifest his game up to the next level.
I was going to have Jay-Z break down the final throw in the Fiesta Bowl, but I think we can just end it on a high note instead.
Should have been open. I mean, the play was amazing. It was perfect. That center of the field was wide open. I take my chances with Olave going up and at least knocking that ball down.
Those two had such great chemistry all year. It was like they were on the same wavelength, and then the one time they were not.
For us to play as bad as we did in 3 phases, because I can highlight, Coach
special teams running the punter or whatever.
Coach Dungy says not one play loses the game, but it's 4 to 5 plays over 60 minutes. Because if you collectively highlight these plays, these are game-changing plays. And Shaun Wade being knocked out the game.
Well, that's what you know. I know where you're going. Right. You don't want 3 or 4 of them to be decided.
And there's like 9 or 10 of them.
Right.
Like that's
there's like 9 or 10 calls in that game. It's like we got one of them.
Right. Exactly. So
you're not. It's hard to win a game like that.
So I mean, at the end of the day, we had a chance to win down the stretch, and unfortunately, we end up throwing another interception. I mean, for Fields to have his worst game of the season throwing 2 picks. Yeah. I mean, the kid threw 1 pick all season. Yeah. I mean, you can't, it's college, it's a young man, it's high, you got these guys.
At some point
with
in time,
so much pressure.
You're throwing the ball as a quarterback, you're going to throw picks.
You're not healthy, and you're playing a very talented Clemson defense. Like, let's not pretend like that wasn't a really good team.
Exactly. No, they're 20.
Going into that game, we're worried about Clemson. Now it's like, well, if we had just scored touchdowns in the red zone, we'd have beat them by 20 points.
Or more. Could have been 28-0. But, not that we're going to keep talking about that Fiesta Bowl forever.
I mean, as a defensive player.
Until next year, anyways.
Exactly.
We only
had a 96-yard drive going us in 4 plays. I'm like.
Where the quarterback throws the ball and he ran all over us.
We only have 8.5 months to go before another game to break down. It probably won't be the last time we mention it, at least not here on Lettermen Live, brought to you by Roosters. We'll try to move on. It's 2020 now.
Yep.
That's
Spencer Holbrook. 2020.
That's Justin Zwick.
The new focus.
That's Mike Doss. He's got that new focus. Happy New Year to everybody. Appreciate these guys hanging out with us here at Roosters on Lettermen Live. Be back here next week to talk about more Ohio State offseason stuff. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Lettermen Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and we got Buck IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.